So here now at the end of this journey that has been Blam, what grand epiphany or revelation lies at the end of this journey? Or should I say, what have we learned?
Blam.
And I guess we should also ask, will this manga go, in true Blam fashion, bombastically into an explosive end? Or will it go, in true Blam fashion, silently into the abyss? That's a damn good question. And one we're going to answer right here, right now. Definitively, I have all the answers to this manga ever. Just wait and see. But before I give you those answers, I have to thank my patrons. I thank you all so very much. I really appreciate each and every single one of you. Thank you again. Thank you always. Now, picking up right where we left off last time, we pick up with Sibo and that little detective-looking girl, and they're still running from whatever they were running from the last time. The little detective girl tells Sibo to take care of the sphere, and at some point in there, she asks her if she knows who she is, which I thought was super weird. Because I don't know who she is, so why would Sibo? But you don't really have time to worry about that because she takes a bullet to the head by this mean-looking motherfucker. And oh wait, she's back. And now the battle/chase thing is going to continue. And now we get to see Kiri hooked up to that little dog head thing, and we realize that everything we just saw was just a recording from the dog head, and he was seeing everything that happened in the past. And we don't even know how long ago it happened because, you know, he's just getting a recording from the dog head, which is exactly what I predicted would be the case when I saw him plug into the dog head because, you know, that wasn't the greatest call. I mean, it was kind of obvious, but I'm still proud of myself. But anyway, now Kiri is off in pursuit of Sibo when a giant, I wanted to say tentacle monster, when a giant hose monster comes and attacks him, and it lasts about, 2 pages before it's over. Anyway, now at this point, Kiri's going to find a little necklace, basically, with like an AI module on it and a little artificial intelligence personality downloaded onto it. And he's going to pick it up and carry it along with him. And essentially, at this point, it's kind of like a character that has been created totally as a plot device to solve a particular problem. That problem being, how do we convey all the necessary information to the reader that we need to get to the reader with Kiri all by himself and nobody to talk to and nobody to have real conversations with? I mean, I guess at this point we could introduce like thought bubbles, but they've never existed before, and it would really kind of just drain some of the mystery and enigmatic nature right out of Kiri's personality and his person in general. We needed someone or something, and this little necklace fits the bill beautifully. Anyway, then he's going to travel to a section of the city that is completely populated by repurposed builders that have been rebuilt to basically resemble humans at this point. And then he goes around and he asks the builders about if there are any humans with the net terminal gene, which is starting to feel increasingly pointless to ask. And then they show him that the only human that was there is dead. But at some point when he's asking the builders questions, the little AI module is like, they don't talk, they're builders. I'm thinking, you don't know Kiri, because he's been talking to builders for books, dude. I'm going to need you to mind your business, Maury. Fucking AI asshole. Anyway, this is going to lead him to a 3,000-kilometer tall staircase. And he's going to start climbing this staircase. And at some point, he's going to stop to take a break. And he's going to literally sit down and rest for so long that the computer AI chip's going to think that he's dead. At which point, the case asks him if he has a certain terminal port in him, and then he's going to attempt to like send out a little spike looking thing, needle looking thing, and connect with Kiri and basically download over top of him and take control of him, like without Kiri's permission. Kiri almost tosses his ass down the pit for that one, and then reluctantly keeps him, probably just for company at this point. Either way, he keeps him, and he emerges from the staircase out onto some vast open landscape, which then he has to travel across this. And he'll eventually come across a platform with a silicone life up on top with like a simple telescope just observing this hollowed out sphere that they're in. And the silicone life says that he's doing research, but he's never seen another living life form the entire time that he's been here. And then he also says by doing his research here, he's discovered that this is a perfect sphere that was originally used to hold materials for the construction of the megacity. And this sphere is exactly 143,000 kilometers wide. And my first thought, the second I see this, it's a perfect sphere. It was used to hold materials to build the megastructure. And I'm just like, like it dawns on me. It all clicks into place. I've got it all figured out. This was the Earth, and the Earth was then used for the materials to build the structure. And now the Earth is gone and it's all hollow. And so I jump on my phone, I go straight to Google and I looked up the exact circumference of the Earth. And by doing so, this told me exactly two things. That's not the Earth. Couldn't be, because the numbers don't match. Secondly, that's way bigger than the Earth. 11 times bigger than the Earth, to be specific. Just in case you were curious, because clearly I was. But anyway, he then points him towards a central access tower, but says that he can't go there because there are safeguards there. And he's a silicone life. And then he just quietly and politely goes back to his observations. And Kiri shoots him in the head because he's a silicone life. And the AI doesn't understand at all. Like, what did you just shoot that dude for? And he just says, because he was a silicone life. And it's at this point that I'm starting to realize that it's the whole first half of this so far has been back to quiet and lonely, and what little fights we've had have either been not fights at all or like one, maybe 2 pages max. And it's at this point that I realized that this isn't going to be a big bombastic ending to Blam. This is going to be something different. Not different to Blam, but different than honestly what I was really expecting. And yes, there's still going to be action to come. But at the same time, it feels like we're slowly stripping things away in this last book. Dialing everything back to that lonely, haunting feeling from the first book. But now as we move forward and the more that we know, the more that this haunting, lonely feeling just feels worse. And at one point we had real, genuine company. And now we have a box. We fought before, but we fought for survival. We fought for something. Now we're fighting and killing just because. And it may have always been that way, but now we can see it. Now we've been forced to look at it. And maybe look at it in ways that we weren't looking at it before. The killing of all the silicone life, and yes, they're awful, and yes, they're here to eradicate all humankind, but now it's gotten to the point where we're just killing observers just because they're silicone life. So it doesn't feel quite the same. And then afterwards, it just gives us 5, 6, 10 more pages of walking across a lonely, desolate landscape just to let the feeling sink in. It's fucking depressing. And somehow it's still beautiful at the same time. Anyway, then he's going to travel to the Axis Tower. And along the way of traveling to the tower and to the top of the tower, he's only going to encounter 2 fights. And those 2 fights are going to last a couple of pages each. Maybe, if that. Almost like all that action that we've been barreling through, especially a couple of these, were non-stop, balls to the wall action. All that big bombastic action that we've been used to for a while now. Almost like it doesn't matter anymore. All that action that was literally breathtaking no longer matters. The final act just keeps drawing everything back and stripping away all the layers as we get closer to the end. I feel like I'm being way too dramatic here. Ooh, loosen up. Oh my goodness gracious. Sorry. Anyway, now we get to see Sibo and that other chick right in the middle of their battle with the silicone life. And the detective-looking chick loses and Sibo's taken away. And the detective chick is sent to that computer place that I forget what the name is. I probably could have looked it up, but I didn't. That one place that Sibo went to that I can't remember the name of, and tells a representative from the administration to send her back. And the administration then tells her that the safeguards are already on another mission. There is no need for her to go back. And if she would like to go back, she's more than welcome to. There is no backup data packet for her. So if she goes back and she dies, she's gone. There's no getting her back ever. And then he calls her by her name, which is Santa Can. So you mean to tell me that this is Santa Can? First off, that's why she was asking if Sibo knew who she was. And secondly, this is like the big bad from like 3 entire books of this manga that was like the ultimate bad chasing us through the story. And now she's here fighting for Sibo? I mean, I understand that she's really essentially fighting for the sphere and not for Sibo, but it was pretty much a kick in the teeth for me when I found out that this was Santa Can. I was like, oh, no shit. It took a second. I had to like literally pause right here and take a second to come to terms with the fact that this is Santa Can. And now she's going to volunteer to go back, even though she's being told there's no reason for her to go, but she's going to go anyway. So she teleports back or forwards back, and she re-enters in full Santa Can form this time, in the form we recognize, which is terrifying. When suddenly Kiri gets a transmission from somewhere, we don't know, stating that the safeguards have been sent to destroy Sibo, but they would like to recover her intact if they can. And the little AI Mori is like, who's they? And we don't ever get an answer. But if I was a betting man, I would say that they is probably the administration. But now we're traveling towards the climax of the actual story here. Sibo has been taken, and Santa Can and Kiri are both on their way to get her. Santa Can's going to get there first, of course, because she's right next to her. And let me tell you, at this point, now we get the action scene. And this one is quite a few pages long, and this one is quite glorious, and it is quite wonderful. And Santa Can comes in glorious fashion. And now instead of being afraid of Santa Can, we're rooting for her, and we're rooting for Sibo. And it looks great. Oh my God. And she's going to get tore up in the process. And then Kiri's going to come running in, and they're going to work together, and they're going to all fight together, except for Sibo. She's not really fighting anything at this point, but it's just wonderful. And it's all going to culminate and end with Santa Can and Kiri firing both of their guns. I mean, graviton beam emitters, or whatever you want to call them. And they're ultimately going to cause an explosion so large that it destroys, well, everything. The place, the people, the bad guys. There's like an army of Silicon Life wiped out. Them wiped out. It just literally destroys everything except for Kiri and the sphere. Even Sibo and Santa Can are wiped out by the explosion. Only Santa Can lasts long enough to tell Kiri to take the sphere, protect it, and get it somewhere where it can't be infected. And he then asks, what is it and where should he go? To which he gets no answers. Now, we're going to enter a strange little computer land for computer programs without bodies attached to the net sphere somewhere. And it even says that it is part of the net sphere, but it doesn't work properly. The net sphere is malfunctioning, therefore this place is malfunctioning. There are no people here, and the people who are here are asleep permanently forever until something can be fixed or changed. The only person that is awake is this little female character that we have now. And the little female character says, I was on a quest with Kiri, and then starts describing the city and all this stuff about it. And my mind immediately goes, oh, cool, Sibo. And I finish the story and I move on with my life, knowing that this character at the end of the book was Sibo. And then I go back and I'm like chewing on this and I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, turning everything over in my head as I move along. And I go back and I'm looking through the book, putting these notes together for this video. And it kind of smacks you right in the face. This isn't Sibo. If anything, I'm pretty sure, granted, this manga doesn't tell you shit, just so you know. But, I mean, if the, 2 panels of close-ups on that little computer box or anything, I think that's Mori. I mean, I think that's what I'm supposed to think, at least. Anyway, so I think Mori is the one that we're following in this little computer world. But then again, that doesn't really mean much, because it also says that this data packet has been overwritten multiple times with multiple personalities and people, and there were just enough fragments of the original personality to put this thing together. So I'm assuming Mori, but is it Mori or is it something else? Is it the original personality and Mori was one of the other ones? Because who knows? Anyway, thank you, Nihei, for being the most confounding author I've read in a very long time. But anyway, we learn that Kiri has continued on his own through the megastructure in his quest to get this sphere beyond the megastructure. And that's the word they use, is beyond the megastructure. And it doesn't say outside of it says beyond. And I don't know if that's important or not, because sometimes it feels like we're going out, sometimes it feels like we're going in. So are we really moving outside of, or what? Because what does beyond the megastructure even mean at this point in the context of this particular manga, with how just cryptic and layered and weird that it is? I like to think outside of, but that's not what we've been set up to think that this story is doing. And it doesn't say how much time has passed outside in the real world, but it also says that if he were to have completed his task, they would know. And I don't even know how that's even true, because if he would have completed his task and he would have gotten it outside of the megastructure and they're in the net sphere, how would they know? Or how would that fix the net sphere if he goes beyond? It doesn't really add up. And yes, essentially, I mean, we have also essentially established that there is a certain level of time travel in this manga, and we could loop around to the beginning or something crazy like that. But that doesn't feel right. Time travel almost feels cheap. So I don't think that that's really an option, unless for some reason, because like if we're going to use time travel, oh, suddenly everything's fixed, it's all better now, I would be very disappointed. Unless if by introducing the time travel, we're ultimately introducing him being stuck in like a time loop from hell to which he'll never be able to escape, and he is being forced to relive this over and over and over again. That would be about the only circumstance where I would be able to accept time travel as the ultimate ending to this story. Maybe that's just my personal, like, completely fucked up interest in storytelling and in the way that stories are told and work. I don't like, at least once you've set up something like this, I don't like that. I don't know. Maybe I just like bleak and horrible, depressing stories. Like, take, for example, this is coming from a person who felt like the end of Fahrenheit 451 was a little bit of a letdown because it was too happy. And I didn't wear this shirt because I had that point to make. I had just a happy accident. I realized it as I was writing these notes. But either way, we jump back to Kiri, and he's now at the end of his journey. He's making the last few steps through the last few panels of this world before he reaches the end. His body is missing limbs. His eye is now white and clouded over from where he lost it eons ago at this point. And then he's going to exit through a series of tubes that looks like it dumps him out into, well, what looks like outer space. So it could be safe to assume that he made it beyond the megastructure or outside of the megastructure. And then suddenly it doesn't look like outer space at all. It looks more like he's underwater. Even to the point where the image is mirrored as though he's floating up towards the surface of something. I mean, this is some real 2001 A Space Odyssey, like space baby ending shit. I mean, and I love it. I just love it. Like, I don't know what I wanted. I don't know what I expected. I couldn't expect anything at this point. It kept me so on my toes, but this is it. This is the ending for this manga. This is the greatest ending he could have put together. It is so deliciously wonderful. It is so deliciously confusing. It doesn't give you, it gives you all of the answers while giving you none of the answers. It gives you so many more questions. I couldn't be happier with the way that this ended. And all we can really be sure of at the end of this is that he did it. I shouldn't say sure of anything. The only thing we can relatively assume at the end of this is that he did whatever he was supposed to do. Because when he gets there, the sphere abandons him and begins to grow. So, and the criteria for that was for him to get beyond the megastructure and for him to be free and clear of infection. And once he did that, this thing would start to grow on its own. And that appears to happen at the end. So whatever he has done or wherever he has made it to is where he was trying to get to. Now, where do we go from here? What happens here? Did we go out or did we go in? Because sometimes it looks like we're going out, sometimes it looks like we're going. Sometimes it looks like we're in outer space, sometimes it looks like we're underwater. We've been trying to find the net terminal gene. Now it seems like that's pointless. What's the point of the net terminal gene if all we're going to do is leave the megastructure? If we leave the megastructure, did we leave the net sphere behind? In which case, what does the administration even care? Or is the point to get away, to exceed this megastructure? Has the megastructure grown so far out of control? Is it so far gone that it's not even worth saving? And that we're just going to create a new thing with this sphere and shoot it out of the megastructure entirely and get it beyond the limits and the reach of all of this contamination. And we're just going to let that rot and die. And we're just moving forward. The way forward is forward. The way forward is not back. So that sounds like crazy talk, doesn't it? But I'm being serious. Like, so is it move forward and evolve? Because, I mean, let's look at it from this perspective of evolution. There's not even people left. We've been searching this whole manga looking for a person, like a human person with the net terminal gene, right? So the most basic human that we're looking for is one with a net terminal gene. That means they have a gene that allows them to connect to the net. So the most basic human that we can't find because we have evolved past this was already so far evolved from where we are now that it had genetics that would allow it to connect to networks. So that is evolved beyond us. This is evolved so far beyond that those people don't even exist anymore. And now we're going to attempt to go backwards and reconnect with that? Or is the whole point just to move forward? Just move on. Cut off the dead and move on, and move on with our lives. Really. Which is where my mind wants to go with it. Which makes it feel like searching for that net terminal gene was 100% pointless the entire time. Or is he going to somehow go back to the beginning? Is this sphere going to fix the net sphere at this point? Because I don't feel like that's an option at this point. It could. That could be the answer. It could blossom, and whatever this thing does is going to go back and it's going to connect to the net sphere. It's going to fix it all up there. It's going to bring the city back under control. All the builders go back to building what they're supposed to build, when and how and where they're supposed to build it. But I just don't feel like that's the answer. It doesn't feel right. Anyway, so then we're going to flip the page and we get the last page of the whole manga, which is a shot of Kiri shooting his gun. If you weren't confused enough, there's more. Go figure that one out. I don't know. But anyway, I just keep going back to, and this, and your mind can go anywhere you want with it. And I haven't even gone down the rabbit hole yet. Now that I'm done with my video and done spouting stupid crazy crap, now I get to go online and I get to go down the rabbit hole of what other people think. And this is going to be a very messed up mess. Actually, I really want that rabbit hole to start right here. I really want, if you guys have any of your theories, please God, put them in the comments below, because I'm dying to get deeper into this one. Maybe read it again, maybe flip through it again. I don't know. But I am just in love with this and everything about it. I can't imagine a better ending to this. I know I've already said that. I'm going to say it again. I cannot imagine a better ending to this. I don't want to give it a perfect 10, but I've given every single one of these a 9 so far, and I'm giving this one a 9.5 because it exceeded all of my expectations. And I had lofty expectations for this manga, and it exceeded them all. I can't praise this enough. And at the same time, if I heard somebody say that they absolutely detested this as the worst thing they'd ever read because it was total trash, I could see why they would feel that way, because there is a high price of admission on this one. You have to be a certain kind of person, you have to be interested in a certain kind of storytelling, and you have to like certain things, because this is going to piss a lot of people off. Anyway, I loved it. It was easily 9.5, and I might, this whole thing upon maybe even a reread, but in retrospect, I might have to rate this one higher. Even though I gave it across the board 9s, it might tick up to a 9.5 or higher. I don't know. But this volume's getting a 9.5. I do know that one. Thank you so very much, everybody. As always, the link for my Discord is in the description below. The link for my Patreon is in the description below. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.